Hey, how's it going in this video? I'm going to be talking about chemical processing and separation and what that is. Chemical processing and separation are essential techniques in the field of chemistry and various industries. Those activities involve manipulation of isolation and substances based on their chemical and physical properties. So we're gonna in this video we're gonna separate those two in the chemical processing and separation techniques using chemicals. First, let's start with chemical processing. Chemical processing refers to a series of operations used to transform raw materials to chemicals into desired products. It encompasses various chemical reactions and unit operations. Key aspects of chemical processing include chemical reactions. This involves the conversion of one or more chemicals into different chemicals throughout processes like synthesis, decomposition, or modification of molecular structures. Unit operations. These are individual steps or operations in chemical processes. Examples include mixing, distillation, crystallization, filtration, and extraction. I'm trying to understand a little bit better myself and share some information with the people out there who are interested. It's worth noting I'm not the best person at this. I do know a lot of things, but I don't know that much about perhaps very important things. So it's just myself bringing myself up to speed and looking for best methods up there to perhaps to solve very particular problem. Batch compared against continuous processes. Chemical processes can be carried out in batches mode, sequential operations in a single vessel. It's even more difficult to understand for my view for other people. Batches, that means whatever unit or whatever quantity you might have, right? So to classify that quantity, you might be interested in giving it a particular number, right? So let's say you have anything, right? So whatever wood, right? Firewood, you have perhaps 300 kilograms of firewood, which is from particular shop that you bought, or whatever case might be, from a particular person that you bought. You would just give that particular wood 300 of oak. uh, a particular batch, particular number, so you yourself you can identify that with the number. Since there's gonna be a new wood, perhaps that you might need another 400, another 200, another 100, then you would give identification numbers to every quantity that you would like to label, right? I guess that's the best way how I can explain it. So I understand this, perhaps not everything, but I understand some of these topics very well. But especially if I were to describe some of those topics or try to explain on very basic level, some people might find it hard to understand, I guess, and the same information I'm finding up there, some people might find it very hard to understand. So something that's very easy for one might be very hard for others, right? Well, either way, batches compare against continuous processes. Chemical processes can carry out as a batch mode, circular operations in single vessel, or continuously constant flow or reactions and products. So you either might be interested in labeling or classifying everything with its unique number, or constant flow. So then looking at chemical processes and how you can potentially do those. Take a look at separation techniques. Separation techniques are used to isolate specific components or substance from mixture based off their properties. Some common separation methods include distillation. This process separates components of a mixture based on differences in their boiling points. It's often used to purify liquids or separate volatile components. So distillation, that would be just one of many ways how you can do it. I have covered physical separation. Now we're looking at using chemicals, how we can potentially separate different materials. So what would be most cost-effective way of doing things? I'm not entirely sure about what quantity are we talking about. and what would be most cost-effective way of doing things and separating even the raw materials or perhaps recycled waste materials, and what would be most cost-effective. So those measures you might need to put for yourself. What you will be looking for, it will be cost that you would measure against, perhaps, or quality you measure against. So it depends what will be your priorities. Your priorities when looking at different methods and how you are planning of doing it. Filtration. Filtration separates solid particles from liquids or gases by passing the mixture throughout porous medium, or why it's called filter, but either way it's very technical. That allows the liquids or gases to pass through while retaining the solid. So whatever solid, you might use a filter, right? So depending what kind of problem you're looking to solve, again, perhaps you need very specific size of materials. When we're talking about sand, for example, so you might be using a filter to separate larger from smaller. But it depends again what kind of problem you're looking to solve and what would be the best method of doing it. But in this particular case, we are looking at a chemical. Perhaps on a smaller scale, and perhaps not necessarily solid, or perhaps solids from liquids, right? Extraction involves transfer of solid from one phase, usually from a liquid, to another phase using a suitable solvent. It's commonly used to extract valuable components from plant materials in industries like pharmaceuticals or flavoring. Extraction, yeah, so it depends again. So it most, but again, other industries might take or learn from other industries as well. They're looking for best practices of you using, but to most extent, perhaps the most prominent industries that would be pharmaceuticals and flavoring in this particular case. Uh, Chromatography. Chromatography technique separates components of a mixture based off a different artificials from stationary phase and a mobile phase. Common types include gas chromatography and liquid chromatography. That's new. That's new. There's a lot of techniques out there, and constantly people are looking for a best technique, perhaps even if there are some movies where they're looking to solve a particular problem, and they might be interested in using different techniques and optimizing their processes. Crystallization. Crystallization is the process of forming solid crystals from solution or melt. It's used to purify substance and separate them from impurities. Even when I'm thinking about coffee, even coffee can be perhaps to extend its shelf life, perhaps freeze dry coffee, right? So it could be different ways, or dry coffee, remove all the liquid from it. Perhaps that would extend this, depending again what kind of problem people might be interested in solving, as well as different properties that they might be interested to make sure that coffee would keep holding its flavor. So what kind of method might work better? The same that goes with food, perhaps preserving food, and what kind of things they might be interested in doing to the food to preserve it. Right, so if anything, I'm trying to understand a little bit better, not necessarily sticking only with recycling and or reusing different materials out there, but there's a different use cases. Electrophoresis separates charged molecules, typically proteins or nucleic acids, based on their mobility in electric fields. It's commonly used in biometry and molecular biology. Centrifugation used centrifuge force to separate components in mixture by density. It's widely used in laboratories and industry processes. For people out there who are interested in learning more, I have published a book, Rise Impact. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people who are interested in learning more about where to start, then setting up your first, or perhaps if it's something that you would like to venture, second, a livestock enterprise. Uh, in this book, I'm covering in particular where you need to start and begin some of those areas, especially when reaching your first milestone. That will be working your way from zero to first 10,000 euros, dollars, pounds, and how you can achieve this milestone. In this book, I'm covering a lot of examples so you can learn from those, from perhaps other people's mistakes, and from those, if anything, you can benefit yourself and save a lot of money, if anything, right? So even that would be a lot of value for a lot of people out there. You can find it in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has this book. All the techniques highlighted in this video, they just to best explain. Perhaps there are many or more or new that I haven't mentioned, but either way, these techniques play a crucial role in various industries, including chemical manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, food processing, but petrochemicals, there's perhaps a lot of demand for those, and environmental engineering. The choice of the most suitable separation methods depends on specific properties of substance involved in desired outcome. If anything, that chemicals, I personally believe that would be refining materials when it comes to perhaps used materials, not necessarily recycling. Is something that I'm currently looking at, but either way, but perhaps there is a lot of demand within those industries, as well as there are currently a lot of projects out there, and something that I'm interested in securing finance for some of those new inventive ways of offering value to large groups of people. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.